Hi, my name is Emily and today we'll be looking at how to create these red blood cells using Adobe Illustrator. This is my first video tutorial. I'm hoping to create some more to give some tips on using some of the software that I frequently use being a medical illustrator. So creating these red blood cells in Illustrator is actually pretty simple. With this image, I've taken the red blood cells from Illustrator and popped them into Photoshop and added some effects and colour tweaks, but I'll go over that part towards the end of the tutorial. Now let's open up Illustrator and begin. So I'm using the Creative Cloud version, but all the same tools should be in all versions of Illustrator. So I'm going to select the pen tool and draw half a cross section of a blood cell. So if you think about it as you're cutting a red blood cell in half and then viewing it from the side, maybe it would look like this shape. Then we're going to go on and fill this with a nice bloody red colour and removing the stroke colour. From here we're going to go into the effect menu and go down to 3D and then click revolve. And this is the magic part, click preview. You can move this cube up here and see your shape will also move. Now I can see that this shape is definitely not right. If we come a bit closer here, you can see that if I select this point using the direct select tool, which is V on your keyboard, I'm just pressing A and V and A and V to switch between the two different select tools. So we can, with the direct select tool, move this point and the 3D shape will automatically update itself, which is great because it gives you the freedom to not have to go back and forth and guessing, and you can just see it happen before your eyes, sculpting a nice red blood cell. I really love the revolve tool. I think it's probably going to become very useful. I've not known about it for very long, but already I've used it quite a lot. Right, so I'm finally a bit happier with the shape. So I want to go back in and edit the 3D effect. I have my appearance panel here on the side of my workstation, but if you can't find it, just go into Window at the top and you can find it from here in the menu. You may need to keep going in and out of this menu, so it might be easier for you to just keep it open or put it into the dock on the side. Appearance panel is something that I use all the time, so it's always just there ready for me when I need it. So I double click on the 3D revolve in the appearance menu and I'm back to this box. There's some more options for the shader that you can see here. So if you just play around with these settings until you're happy with your cell. So that was pretty easy, right? I'm going to take the cell and scale it down. What you want to do is open the symbol window. You can do this by going to Window and finding it on the list. Drag your cell into the window and give it a name. I'm now going to click on the symbol sprayer, which is down here. Yours might be somewhere else. Everyone's Illustrator always looks different. And I'm going to make sure that I've selected the red blood cell as well in the symbol menu. And just click and go. And it's really quite satisfying when you first do it. You just go, wow, look at it go. Now, that doesn't look very organic, does it? I will show you some more functions of the symbol sprayer in a couple of minutes, and it will hopefully get your cells looking a bit more organic. What I'm going to do now is create a couple of variations of the red blood cells. You'll need to create separate symbols for this, which is similar to what we did for the first one. Now play around with them until you're happy with how they look and drag the rest of them into the symbol window, naming them so you can remember what's going on. So here in my video, my recording cut off, so the workspace is going to look a little different as I'm now working on my MacBook here. I'm so sorry. We'll cut back to the original video after, but this is like explaining most of the important parts about the symbol sprayer, so I've had to redo it. So bear with me, everything should still be relatively exactly where it was in the original video. So as before, we get our symbol sprayer tool and select our symbols, spray away. Now let's have a look at some of the symbol sprayer tools by double clicking on the sprayer to open up the options. You can select the diameter of the spray. So here the density dictates how close or far apart the symbols are, like this. Or this, but I'm going to stick with 5. Now you can access all the tools here, or you can hold and click on the sprayer tool. I normally just hold and click on the sprayer tool. The symbol shifter is useful for moving your cells around and making them into a shape that you're happy with. The symbol scruncher, as its name suggests, scrunches them together, which I quite like, especially for the kind of look that we're going for here. The most useful for this is the spinner tool. This allows you to change the direction your cells are going. You may want to take the diameter down on the sprayer so that you can target certain cells specifically. Make sure you keep in mind where the light's coming from with this, even though in blood vessels there's not really any spotlights or any reflections really going on. But if you have some cells with their highlights in totally different orientation, it could look a bit strange, so I'd use the spinner wisely. Now we're done with this part, back to the original video. And we want to repeat this with the other shapes. You can use the scruncher tool, the shifter tool, and the spinner tool. Just make it look random and organic. You can play around with the layers to see which looks best in which position. Maybe the first ones you put down actually look better at the back, or the other way round. The sizer tool is also useful if you want to give the impression that the cells are coming towards you. To make them smaller, you can hold down the Option key. I could play with this for hours, but I think I'm probably going to stop now. If you're happy with it and you just want it to be an Illustrator vector file, then you're pretty much there. You can, if you want, apply an effect to some of the bottom layers. So select the layer that you want, which for this is the back layer, and go to Effect, Stylize and Feather. Check the preview box to have a look at it. You can now do this with the other back layers, each having a different amount of feathering depending on its position. So the one in the middle, I would lower the amount of pixels it's feathering, just so it gives that sense of depth. So that's the basics. So I'm now going to copy and paste this over to Photoshop. I will show you some quick ideas of what you might want to do with your blood cells after this. So I've copied and pasted all the layers into Photoshop on separate layers. Here I'm applying a Gaussian blur to the furthest back layer. This is similar to what we did in Illustrator, but I think Photoshop sometimes does it a lot nicer. So if you're planning to put this into Photoshop afterwards, I would just leave the layer editing until you get into Photoshop. You can see it's a lot smoother around the edges than it was in Illustrator.
I'm also going to use the blur tool here just to soften out some of the red blood cells on the top layer.